this is, I guess, for any of you. What was the build-up like for you guys this week, maybe on the soccer side and on the business side, with kind of everything that's going on?
Speaking for the soccer side, as Coach Spencer said, we try to keep everything as normal as possible. We tried to make sure we shared information with our players and so they understood what was going on and they could communicate that with their families. But, that was the most important thing, is just do everything as normal. We're certainly appreciative that a big crowd came out tonight to support our team.
From the business side, it was an extraordinary week. It was anything hardly but normal. We live in extraordinary times. We spent an incredible amount of time thinking through all the issues of hosting a game, thinking through all the permutations and combinations of what could happen, what might happen, with really kind of one thought, which is public safety is our number one priority. It's full stop. And, I don't know how much the public knows, but several weeks ago, well before this became like big national attention about what's happening here in Seattle, we set up a internal task force to address this issue and the potentiality of it. In fact, in the back we have Erin Bagley, who's our Senior Vice President of Administration and Human Resources. She's our lead person that's putting all this together, and along with Maya, who is not only just our legal counsel, she's our Senior Vice President responsible for external affairs. And those two together have put in tireless amounts of hours connecting our club to all the pertinent health resources that are out there, all the different soccer clubs, all the different sports clubs locally, the MLS. So we felt like we had been working on this for quite some time. And we felt like we went out there and tried to gather the best information possible so we can make the best informed decision on how to handle this. And we recognize the responsibility that we have, both to the community and the fact that people are looking at us and how we behave here in Seattle, and how we lead and how we think about public safety and how we work with our partners at the local level, the national level, is really critically important.
Peter, why did you set that? I guess what was the tipping point in you deciding to set that up weeks ago? To I guess have this information for should this event take place?
Yeah, I mean, we're not oblivious to what's happening all around the world, and personally, I've had experience with how, from a management level, how does one work in sort of big crisis situations. 2002 was SARS. 2006 was the bird flu. And I was working directly at that time at a bank, and we're working on public safety there and safety for our employees. 2012 was Zika. I was working on the Los Angeles Olympic bid committee at that point in time, and I got a first-hand seat to seeing how the Rio Olympic Committee handled the Zika crisis. And we saw what was happening out there, and we as a management team got together and said, we need to be ready for every eventuality. And that's how we kind of approach the business, and that's how I think sets apart the culture of our club amongst any of our peers and about anything out there, really. And we knew at the time, too, is that we needed to get the best information possible. And the best way to do that was to set up an internal task force so we could figure out which the different avenues of information would lead us to the best informed decision based on the best medical science that's out there.
Did you feel empowered to make the call yourself, whether it be like if MLS was saying we really want you to play the game and you were less than confident that it was a safe environment, did you feel completely empowered to just say no, we can't play this game? Or I guess I'm trying to figure out the balance of the decision-making process.
Sure. The decision-making process is one of joint across all the different partners. We are not medical experts. We run a soccer club. We don't pretend to be. Now, the internet does empower everybody to believe that they're an expert at something, because you can look it up on the internet. But we do not for a minute take that responsibility. And that's why we set up the task force. That's why we have the best people in our organization working on gathering the best information we can possibly have. So we're not, we believe in the responsibility, and we welcome and shoulder that responsibility, but we're not empowered to put people's lives, in harm's way or danger. We worked very closely with King County Health, who did an amazing job of putting together, I think, a really, really good outline and a process and a thoughtful way to address the issue. And we did our best, and we worked across with national partners. And, Maya's worked extraordinarily hard. Aaron tirelessly working around the clock, really gathering information, really disseminating it to all of us. And we tried to really be thoughtful. We really, really did. Did that answer your question?
What did that process just sort of, I'm just trying to just get into how this week looked from your end. Did you come in on Monday and start that communication with the county? And was there a certain point when it did look like there would be a possibility of maybe having to postpone the game or do you want to continue?
Yeah, I think, the interesting thing about the situation is it's extremely fluid. So you say Monday, Wednesday, that was a night and day difference in terms of the level and frequency of the communication we were having directly with King County Public Health. Jeremiah, to sort of maybe put a little finer point on it, the league was really supportive of us working directly with the county health officials here to take a local look at what was happening here on the ground and take the recommendations issued by the state and by the county. And I can't echo what Peter said enough. I think the executives team has been outstanding in this, in every material respect, in convening a number of large businesses, but then also convening the sports organizations separately. And when the updated recommendations came out on Wednesday night, and the executive was, and the King County Health Department was not recommending that we cancel events, they were working with us immediately thereafter to talk through all of our operations and logistics to figure out how we could operate a safe event. How could we take what we're doing, even though they're not recommending to cancel, and make sure that our operations could align with their recommendations for public safety.
I would echo what Maya said and emphasize that it was very much a collaborative effort amongst all, the league, ourselves. Bart Wiley was tirelessly working the phones, talking to other teams in the league. Adrian's been heavily involved in talking to the other ownership groups around town, throughout the nation, in all different levels of sport. This has been a yeoman's effort by the entire club to really kind of formulate, I think, what came out as what I thought was the best decision we could possibly make.
So other leagues in the world have canceled games, or they are playing without the fans. What would be the message directly to the fans in this regard? Thinking that Seattle is a city where all the world is looking, because, or at least the nation. And as an organization, what can you tell the fans and other teams and other organizations with that regard?
I think the message is that we can conduct a safe event. We were really, really grateful to have the support of our fans, and we were really grateful for the leadership of the governor and the mayor and the county executive, as well as all the public health officials in trying to reach the decision. And when ultimately no recommendation came to cancel the game, we wanted to put on as good an event as we could. You guys saw the precautions that we took, warning certain people not to come to the game. But even within the game presentation, we didn't do, if you guys noticed, the kids didn't walk out with the players today. We didn't do a ceremonial handshake. You guys might have noticed that they poured your coffee a little differently upstairs in the press area. So, we took some really extraordinary precautions to try to really have a safe event. And certainly if that's something we can continue to do going forward, that's what we would strive to do. Again, with the collaboration and under the guidance and leadership of the public health authorities.
I'm sorry, I'd also add that, it would be remiss of us not to acknowledge our partnership with FGI and the Seahawks and the stadium. We've been on with them constantly out throughout the week. They have increased their abilities in terms of, or increased their focus on this whole issue with, and you would have seen an enhanced number of sanitizers all throughout the stadium. They've cleaned the stadium in a much more thorough way before and after. So there were measures that were taken to really focus on that, and we'd be remiss in not acknowledging our stadium partners. They did an amazing job, and we really appreciate them.
So the announced crowd was like 33,000. I don't know how that lines up with what you expected there to be, and I don't know if there's anything you can speak to, like how many people took you up on the ticket exchange option?
I'll say this, I would say I was the crowd size was bigger than what I expected. I had no idea. I don't think any of us sit here in front of you incredibly say we knew how many people were coming. But I will say that it was incredible turnout. And again, it's just like the MLS Cup. Seattle turns out. The people, we offered our fans, I think, which was a fantastic, the ticket exchange where they're allowed to swap out tickets that they had for this game for tickets in the future. I don't have the final count in terms of how many were done. And I don't particularly care, to be honest. I just wanted to make sure that our fans are taken care of, that they feel good about being part of our family, and that we look at our fan base as part of our family and treat them as such, as we would treat a family member. So, at the end of the day, couldn't have been happier really with the turnout. I thought it was extraordinary given the circumstances. The players, as you heard in the previous press conference, really felt pleased with the energy that the crowd brought, and it was amazing. I was down on the field in the 80th minute, and it was fabulous in terms of the amount of energy that was in the building.
In terms of looking ahead, have you gotten any communication from the King County Health Department or the league on what sort of, at what mark would they say, okay, we need to reschedule something, or we need to play in front of a closed doors? Did they say if it reaches this point, we shut it down?
We don't know what those factors are yet, and it's certainly something that we will continue to dialogue about and continue to ask about. Again, it's going to be 12 hours, 6 hours. We'll look at it again. We fortunately don't play another home match until the 21st, so we've got a little time, for some of those factors to change, or for us to get more information and new information. And it certainly is not. It's above my pay grade and my professional degree to suggest what those factors would be as a tipping point one way or the other.
Great question, though.
Garth, aside from the loss of revenue, playing before an empty stadium, could you articulate what consequences there are from a standpoint of the team and how it works for the rest of the season, if that is if that becomes an option?
Yeah, from a team standpoint, obviously the players, as you heard, they want to play in front of fans. They want that experience. They want that support. And as we talked about, Coach Messer talks about constantly, those fans are a support of our pillar of our success. We have a big home field advantage that's been built up over a number of years, and the fans are a big part of that. But again, the second point is equally important. We will follow the guidance of public health authorities, and if at some point they have a recommendation, then we'll follow those recommendations. And players want a safe environment as well as an enthusiastic environment. So certainly it's as we saw tonight, the crowd was into it. It was a great event, and people had a good time, and those are hopefully good things going forward.
Was that ever an option for this game, playing it closed doors, or was it always go or postponed? And how much feedback did the league have on that specific part of it?
Again, we've been in coordination, again, Peter stressed this, with other MLS teams, with the league itself, with other sports leagues, with teams around town. really trying to just create a broad consensus. And so I think every possible scenario was talked through, but certainly if there was a safe way to conduct an event with fans, that was that was our preference. But again, we went by the guidance and leadership of the public authorities, and we'll continue to do that. And as Maya said, that's been evolving, every 12 hours, so it's just been constant communication and an attempt to stay on top of this, to provide a safe and friendly environment as possible for our fans.
Go ahead, Mark.
It was reported during the game that Columbus used 2 of their allotted charter flights to fly in and fly out of this game. Are you having any conversations with league officials about if this problem is persisting beyond a couple of weeks? Like, would the league make special accommodations for teams that have to deal with stuff like that, or is it just sort of like that's what the CBA says and that's what it says?
Well, what I'd say is, it's something that all teams are looking at right now out of an abundance of caution, trying to keep their athletes in as controlled a space as possible. It's something we're looking at potentially for our away trip next week as well. And again, I think, the speculation about what might happen down the road and the impact of the season, I think we just don't know. We didn't know how many people are going to show up tonight. So, hopefully this comes out as a safe and a good event for everybody concerned. And that'll be a positive step forward, and hopefully we can go from there. I mean, other leagues have had successful games held, the NBA, the NHL, et cetera. So we're seeing that. We're going to continue to be in coordination with them. And, the charter stuff, I think, with all due respect, is not the tip of the iceberg right now. We'll do the best we can to take care of our athletes as well, other MLS teams, and if something arises down the road, we'll figure it out.
And just to stress the point earlier, it's just been an amazingly collaborative effort with the league. Don Garber's laser focused on public safety, and all these things that you're suggesting are discussions that are having on a daily basis, and it's going back and forth. And honestly, it's just been a fabulously collaborative, amazingly frank and open discussions amongst all parties. So it's been very robust for sure. We're ready.
Businesses around the city and the state are being affected by this event. Is the organization being affected in any way by this? What's going around?
We've followed the same guidelines that everyone else has, right? We have employees that may be in high-risk categories. We've been in constant communication with our staff, with our folks, certainly on the team side, but internally at the business office as well. And we are following those recommendations diligently, and so working very hard to make sure that we don't put any of our employees or any of our independent contractors or service providers in a situation where they're uncomfortable or a situation where their health is at risk. And that includes today. We were very clear with the folks that we both directly employ and the folks that come and work here at these matches in different ways that they have that opportunity to say no. I don't feel comfortable coming, or I'm in a category that's not appropriate for me to be there.
Jerry?
I guess kind of the simplest question after all that went into this, you held a good event, it was fun, people seemed to enjoy it, there was no panic. So just what's the emotions like at the end of all of this, just knowing, hey, this is one step, but we got through today.
Are you offering to buy us all beers? Is that what you're saying?
We do have a conference call tomorrow morning, so, look at it. We love the beer, but honestly, it feels good for sure. We would have preferred a slightly better result, maybe for our fans to go home with. But hey, we come out of this match with a point. We were down, and we kind of showed the Sounder way, right? That happened last week, happened this week. It's not an accident. Sounders never give up. Sounders battle. Sounders fight till the very end. And we do better when the fans are in the stands, for sure. And I just thought I was so proud of our fan base. I did a lot of walking around the concourse prior to the match, talking to people, thanking them for coming out, because they have a choice. They can choose not to come, or they can come support us. And there were so many that chose to come and support us. And one of the things that I thought was a really cool comment that was made to me was, thank you for hosting this event tonight. It gave us and our city something to cheer about. And, you know, that's kind of like what we do, right? Obviously, public safety is our number one priority, but being part of our community is what we do. And the better we can be to be part of that community and make our lives a little bit better, you know, that's our mission.